Hey, so this is part two of a video that's actually an answer to one of the people who have been viewing the videos asked a question about my interaction with the police. And I sort of expanded that to both my interaction also as working in the Church of Sweden and in EFS, as well as also some things even from my days back in the seminary. So this is part two of it's a three-part video series. I'll put all three parts on at the same time, but and so that you can watch them as you want to watch them. Come with comments and everything, and ask more questions, and I'll produce more videos. All right, take care, everyone. Be blessed. Have a good time. Bye bye. As an African American, and it's not just your interaction with the police that sometimes is, they're not used to it, people would say. So it says, well, Ed, it's not that many people that are, dark skinned who are priests. Yeah, well, that's not my problem. It's not my problem that the city and the country has become 20% immigrant, but most of our institutions are not even 5%. Okay, so that's not my problem. My problem is I can't fix institutional racism. Not just racism, but discrimination of all types is what I'm actually referring to here. I can point it out. I can do my part to help it to be better, but I can't change it. And then the other incidences with my race and being African American is still. So here's my thing. In the organization I work in, EFS and the Church of Sweden, it's still considered a rarity, something that people are shocked by if they see a black-skinned person who is a priest. So, like my friend Daniel is adopted as a small child from India, but he's dark. We're about the same. He may be a little bit darker than me, actually. My friend Henok is a little bit lighter than I am, and his parents came from Eritrea. My friend Rebecca, she was also adopted from Ethiopia. My friend Michelle and my other friend Daniel, they work as deacons in the church. One is from India, one is from Sri Lanka. So we're all like dark-skinned people. We're in the brown range. And that still surprises people because it's very seldom that you'll see two dark-skinned people working in a parish or working pretty much anywhere within the Church of Sweden or EFS. My problem with that also is that when we're looking at the decision-making level, at the really high level, at the national level, there is definitely a lack of diversity. And even when I bring this up, I brought this up to bishops, I brought this up to Domprost, that's a priest who's over a number of pastorates. I said Domprost, but what I really meant was Kontraktsprost. So in Kontrakt, that's an area where there's several pastorates and parishes that are part of that. Domprost is only around the different main cathedrals for each diocese. So Uppsala has its own main cathedral. Another diocese like Luleå has its own main cathedral for its diocese. So what I meant was Kontraktsprost. I want to say the right thing. Okay. Whenever I bring this up, they just don't know what to do about it. They're just quiet. They don't want to deal with it. They think it's uncomfortable. We hired you, Ed. I'm like, I'm not your poster child. I'm not your proof that you're not racist, or at least not really trying to make some kind of make the church or the schools or the police force to reflect the diversity of the people who now live in this country. And even at my seminary, so when I went to the seminary, I was the only black person at the seminary. There was no one else. There was one other person who was brown skinned, and then my good friend Luisa, she was adopted from South America. And so we're the only two brown skinned people, one woman, one man in the whole school. She was Swedish. Luisa, she grew up in Sweden. She spoke perfect Swedish. I was the immigrant. And part of that was that it was really hard to interact with in the school. And when we're like sitting and we're talking about the future of working as priests and leaders in the church, and it was really easy to talk about like things like the LGBTQ and how that was important. It was important to talk about making sure there were more women involved in the clergy. Whenever I would bring up the subject of diversity, that there were no black people, There were very few people even though there's a lot of people who are adopted from Asia and Sweden, there were very few people in the church. And I didn't feel like the school, the church, the district, the parishes, the diocese were doing anything strategically or effectively to try to increase the diversity. Even I was invited to a meeting once in Stockholm, and the meeting was about people who were immigrants, who were dark-skinned, working in the Church of Sweden. I was invited because I fit that category. I was the only person who was an immigrant. Everyone else was adopted, and the person who was white said that, well, I mean, but at least it looks diverse. You know, this would be really good because it shows diversity. I'm like, that's not real diversity, and I dropped out. I'm like, I will not be involved in fake diversity publicity. That's not my goal. I believe in truth. And so I couldn't do it. And they were upset with me. I don't really care. Because, you know, either we're going to have real diversity or we admit our failure. I don't have any problem if the Church of Sweden says, listen, we wish it was this way, but we haven't really done anything, and there's nothing that we can do about it. And you know, so, you know, it's basically a middle-class church for middle-class white people, filled with middle-class white people, and we have a few people who aren't. We want the church to be for everyone. And that doesn't bother me because that means now we've addressed the problem and now we can effectively work for a solution. Huh? Does that sound weird, huh? And so that's one of the ways in which I went up beyond just the police. This is the end of part 2. For more information, go to our website, www.crossculture.se. Thanks for watching.